There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Galatians 3 verse 28. What if everything you thought you knew about the appearance of Jesus was challenged? Imagine a world where the familiar image of Jesus with fair skin and light hair is replaced by one that is darker, more enigmatic. Today, we dive into one of the most provocative and controversial discussions in theology and history: was Jesus black? Join us as we unravel the perspectives of theologians and historians, delve into the striking descriptions in the book of Revelation, and explore the profound impact of black theology. We will trace the evolution of stained glass images and understand cultural influences. Why has the representation of a black Jesus gained momentum, and what does this shift mean for faith and society? The notion of a black Jesus finds its support in various theological and historical analyses. One pivotal source is the description found in the book of Revelation 1 verses 14 to 15. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. This depiction, with hair likened to wool and feet resembling burned brass, has led many scholars and theologians to suggest that Jesus may have had characteristics commonly associated with people of African descent. Theologians like James H. Cone, a prominent figure in black liberation theology, argue that the historical context and geographical location of Jesus' life suggest a more diverse ethnic background than traditionally portrayed in Western art and media. Cone and others in this field emphasize that the image of a black Jesus is not just about physical appearance, but also about representing the oppressed and marginalized, aligning with Jesus' mission and teachings. Historians and biblical scholars also highlight the influence of early Christian communities in Africa, particularly in regions like Egypt and Ethiopia, where Christianity flourished in the first centuries AD. These communities often depicted religious figures, including Jesus, with darker skin tones in their art and iconography, reflecting their own cultural and ethnic identities. Furthermore, the resurgence of interest in a black Jesus aligns with a broader movement to reclaim and recognize the diversity of early Christian history. The rise of Afrocentric interpretations of the Bible and the increased visibility of black theology in academic and religious circles challenge the monolithic portrayals of biblical figures and encourage a more inclusive understanding of Christian heritage. As we explore these perspectives, we open the door to a richer, more nuanced view of Jesus, one that resonates with a diverse global community and honors the historical and cultural contexts from which Christianity emerged. The field of black theology has profoundly influenced the way many people understand and represent Jesus Christ. Black liberation theology, in particular, emerged in the late 1960s and early 1970s as a powerful movement that reinterpreted Christian doctrines through the lens of the African American experience of oppression and liberation. This theological framework was pioneered by figures such as James H. Cone, whose seminal work, Black Theology and Black Power, argued that God is deeply concerned with the plight of the oppressed and that Jesus' message is one of liberation. Central to black theology is the assertion that Jesus identifies with the oppressed. This identification is not merely symbolic, but is seen in the actual historical context of Jesus' life, where he ministered to the marginalized and challenged the socio-political structures of his time. By presenting Jesus as black theologians emphasize his solidarity with those who suffer racial and economic injustice. The visual representation of Jesus as black serves multiple purposes within this theological framework. It challenges the dominant cultural narratives that have historically portrayed Jesus with European features, reinforcing the idea that the divine can be seen in all racial and ethnic groups. This representation also provides a source of empowerment and validation for black communities, affirming that their image and experience are reflected in the divine. Moreover, black theology draws on biblical texts that emphasize God's concern for justice and liberation. For instance, in the Gospel of Luke 4 verses 18 to 19, Jesus declares his mission: "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, he hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. This mission statement underscores the liberating aspect of Jesus' ministry, which Black theologians see as particularly relevant to the struggles against racial injustice. In the broader context of Christian theology, Black theology invites a re-examination of how we interpret Jesus' message and mission. It calls for a more inclusive understanding that recognizes the diverse ways in which different communities experience and understand the divine. By doing so, it enriches the global Christian tradition and encourages a deeper engagement with the realities of social justice and equality. The history and evolution of stained glass images depicting Jesus as Black is a fascinating journey through art, faith, and cultural identity. Stained glass, a medium with a rich tradition in ecclesiastical settings, has long been used to convey religious stories and figures with vivid color and light. The representation of Jesus in these stained glass windows has historically been influenced by the cultural and racial contexts of the artists and communities that created them. In medieval Europe, stained glass windows typically depicted Jesus with European features, reflecting the predominantly white population and their conception of religious figures. However, as Christianity spread across the globe and encountered diverse cultures, the artistic representations of Jesus began to change. In Africa, Asia, and the Americas, local artists started to depict Jesus in ways that resonated with their own communities, including features and skin tones that mirrored their own. The introduction of Black Jesus in stained glass windows can be traced to the early 20th century during the Harlem Renaissance, a cultural movement that celebrated African American identity and heritage. Artists like Aaron Douglas and Romar Beeden, though not primarily known for stained glass, influenced the broader cultural movement that inspired churches to commission windows featuring a Black Jesus. These windows became powerful symbols of racial pride and spiritual affirmation within African American congregations. In the Civil Rights era, the demand for stained glass depictions of a Black Jesus grew as part of a larger push for racial equality and representation. Churches across the United States, particularly those with predominantly Black congregations, began to install stained glass windows that depicted Jesus with dark skin and African features. These windows served not only as religious icons, but also as statements of cultural identity and resistance against the dominant white-centric imagery. One notable example is the stained glass window in the Howard University Rankin Chapel, which features a Black Jesus and other biblical figures of African descent. This window, created by the artist Louis D. Purnell, Sr., is celebrated for its bold departure from traditional European depictions and its embrace of African American cultural heritage. The significance of these stained glass windows extends beyond their artistic value. They represent a reclaiming of religious narratives and a reimagining of sacred history through a lens that acknowledges and celebrates racial diversity. By incorporating these images into places of worship, communities affirm their place within the Christian story and challenge the historical exclusion of non-European representations in religious art. The evolution of stained glass images depicting Jesus as Black continues to inspire new generations of artists and believers, fostering a richer and more inclusive understanding of faith and identity. The intersection of culture and art has always played a crucial role in shaping religious imagery, and the portrayal of Jesus is no exception. Over centuries, the image of Jesus has been adapted to reflect the cultural contexts of various regions, resulting in a wide array of artistic representations that speak to the diversity of Christian belief. In Western art, Jesus has often been depicted with European features, a trend that began in the early days of Christianity's spread across Europe. This depiction was not merely a matter of artistic choice, but a reflection of the cultural identity and norms of the time. As Christianity became the dominant religion in Europe, artists portrayed religious figures, including Jesus, in ways that resonated with their own experiences and understanding. However, as Christianity spread to other parts of the world, the artistic representations of Jesus began to change. In Africa, Asia, and Latin America, local artists and communities started to create images of Jesus that reflected their own racial and cultural identities. This shift was not just about altering physical features, but also about embedding local symbols and aesthetics into religious art, making Christianity more accessible and relatable to diverse populations. In Africa, for instance, early Christian art often depicted Jesus with features typical of the local population. Ethiopian icons, some of the oldest in existence, show Jesus with dark skin and African facial features, emphasizing the idea that Jesus is universal and can be seen in the image of any person. These representations were powerful affirmations of faith for African Christians, asserting their place in the Christian narrative. Similarly, in Asia, particularly in countries like China and Japan, artists have depicted Jesus with Asian features. These images are often infused with traditional artistic styles and local symbolism, creating a unique fusion of Christian themes and cultural heritage. Such representations underscore the adaptability of Christian iconography and its ability to integrate into diverse cultural contexts. In the Americas, especially in regions with significant indigenous and African influences, the portrayal of Jesus has also been transformed. In Latin American art, Jesus is frequently depicted with mestizo or indigenous features, blending elements of Catholicism with pre-Columbian art styles. This syncretism reflects the complex cultural dynamics of the region and the way Christianity has been embraced and reinterpreted by different communities. The influence of culture on the artistic representation of Jesus highlights the fluidity and inclusivity of religious imagery. By incorporating local cultural elements, these depictions not only make Christianity more relatable, but also celebrate the diversity of the global Christian community. The various portrayals of Jesus across different cultures serve as a testament to the universal appeal of his message and the capacity of art to bridge cultural divides. The exploration of Jesus' identity has taken many forms over the centuries, from theological debate to cultural reinterpretation. Among the most intriguing of these explorations is the Book of Clarence, a text that offers a unique perspective on the life and appearance of Jesus. This book, while not canonical, has gained attention for its bold reimagining of Jesus' identity, presenting him as a figure who resonates deeply with African cultural and historical contexts. The exploration of Jesus' identity has taken many forms over the centuries, from theological debate to cultural reinterpretation. Among the most intriguing of these explorations is this book, a text that offers a unique perspective on the life and appearance of Jesus. This book, while not canonical, has gained attention for its bold reimagining of Jesus' identity, presenting him as a figure who resonates deeply with African cultural and historical contexts. This book situates Jesus within a framework that highlights his connections to African heritage and history. It draws on a wealth of historical, cultural, and religious sources to construct a narrative that challenges traditional Western depictions of Jesus. This narrative begins with a re-evaluation of the historical Jesus, emphasizing his Middle Eastern roots and the likelihood that he possessed features typical of the people in that region, features that align more closely with African and Afro-Asiatic traits than with European ones. One of the key elements of this book is its use of African oral traditions and historical accounts to enrich the story of Jesus. By weaving these elements into the fabric of Jesus' life, the book creates a tapestry that reflects the richness of African spirituality and its deep connections to early Christianity. This approach not only recontextualizes Jesus within a broader cultural spectrum, but also underscores the importance of African contributions to Christian history. The book delves into various African traditions that bear striking similarities to biblical narratives. For example, it explores the parallels between the Egyptian Osiris myth and the story of Jesus, drawing on the idea that early Christian thought was influenced by African religious concepts. This connection is further illustrated through the examination of early Christian communities in North Africa, such as those in Alexandria and Carthage, which were pivotal in shaping Christian doctrine and practice. This book also highlights the role of African women in the early Christian movement. Figures like Mary Magdalene are reimagined as strong, influential leaders within the African context. This portrayal challenges the often marginalized roles assigned to women in traditional Christian narratives and celebrates their contributions to the spread and development of Christianity. By doing so, The book aligns with contemporary feminist theology, which seeks to reclaim and reinterpret the roles of women in religious history. Another fascinating aspect of this book is its exploration of Jesus' teachings through the lens of African proverbs and wisdom literature. This approach provides a fresh perspective on familiar biblical passages, offering new insights and deeper understanding. For instance, the book might reinterpret the Beatitudes in the context of African communal values, emphasizing themes of justice, community, and mutual support. This reinterpretation not only makes Jesus' teachings more accessible to African audiences, but also enriches the global understanding of his message. The book does not shy away from addressing the political and social implications of its portrayal of Jesus. It tackles issues of colonialism, racism, and the historical erasure of African contributions to Christianity. By presenting a Jesus who is deeply connected to African heritage, this book challenges the colonial legacy that has often depicted Christianity as a predominantly European religion. This reimagining serves as a powerful statement against historical injustices and calls for a more inclusive and accurate representation of Christian history. In addition to its historical and cultural analysis, this book incorporates artistic interpretations of Jesus as a black man. These artistic representations are informed by traditional African art forms, blending them with Christian iconography to create a visual narrative that is both familiar and innovative. These images serve as a powerful tool for reimagining Jesus, providing a tangible representation of the book's themes and ideas. The impact of this book extends beyond its pages. It has inspired a wave of artistic and scholarly work that continues to explore and celebrate the African dimensions of Christian history. Artists, theologians, and historians draw on the book's themes to create new works that challenge traditional narratives and offer fresh perspectives. This ongoing dialogue enriches the broader cultural and religious landscape, fostering a deeper appreciation for the diversity and complexity of Christian history. One of the most compelling aspects of this book is its ability to resonate with contemporary audiences. In an era marked by increasing awareness of racial and cultural diversity, the book's portrayal of Jesus as a figure deeply connected to African heritage speaks to the experiences and aspirations of many people. It offers a vision of Christianity that is inclusive, affirming, and empowering, providing a source of inspiration and hope for those seeking to understand their faith in a broader context. This book also engages with modern theological debates, particularly those surrounding liberation theology and the role of religion in social justice movements. By presenting Jesus as a figure who embodies the struggles and triumphs of African people, the book aligns with liberation theology's emphasis on God's preferential option for the poor and oppressed. This alignment provides a powerful framework for addressing contemporary issues of inequality and injustice, making the book's message both relevant and transformative. In exploring the connections between Jesus and African heritage, this book does not seek to diminish the significance of other cultural interpretations of Jesus. Rather, it enriches the global tapestry of Christian belief by adding another layer of understanding and appreciation. This inclusive approach fosters a spirit of dialogue and mutual respect, encouraging people of all backgrounds to explore and celebrate the diverse ways in which Jesus is understood and represented. The increasing popularity of Black Jesus icons represents a significant cultural and theological shift in how religious imagery is understood and appreciated. This movement reflects deeper social, political, and spiritual currents that challenge traditional narratives and invite a more inclusive perspective on religious representation. The rise of Black Jesus icons can be traced to various social and political movements, particularly those advocating for civil rights and racial equality. The civil rights movement in the United States during the 1950s and 1960s played a crucial role in reshaping the landscape of American Christianity. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and organizations such as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference used religious imagery and language to mobilize and inspire African American communities. The depiction of Jesus as Black became a powerful symbol of solidarity and resistance against systemic racism and oppression. This period saw the emergence of Black liberation theology, which reinterpreted Christian doctrine through the lens of the African American experience of suffering and struggle. Theologians like James H. Cone argued that Jesus' identification with the oppressed meant that he could be seen as a black figure, standing in solidarity with those who suffer racial injustice. This theological perspective provided a robust framework for understanding Jesus as a symbol of liberation and empowerment for black communities. The cultural impact of this shift extended beyond theology into the arts. Artists began to depict Jesus with African features, creating images that resonated with the experiences and aspirations of African American communities. These representations challenged the dominant Eurocentric depictions of Jesus and offered a more relatable and empowering image for people of African descent. In the visual arts, this trend was exemplified by the works of artists like Howard University professor and sculptor Elizabeth Catlett, whose iconic images of black religious figures helped to redefine the cultural landscape. Similarly, the stained glass windows in African American churches began to feature black depictions of Jesus, reinforcing the connection between faith and cultural identity. This movement also found expression in popular culture. The music, literature, and visual arts of the time began to reflect the growing awareness of and pride in African heritage. Musicians like Nina Simone and James Brown infused their work with themes of black pride and resilience, contributing to a broader cultural affirmation of black identity. In literature, authors such as James Baldwin and Maya Angelou explored the intersections of race, faith, and identity, often invoking religious imagery to underscore their messages. The popularity of Black Jesus icons is also linked to a broader re-evaluation of historical narratives. As scholars and historians began to revisit the early history of Christianity, they uncovered evidence of diverse representations of Jesus across different cultures. This research highlighted the fact that the portrayal of Jesus as a European figure was a relatively recent development, shaped by the colonial and imperial histories of Western Europe. In regions like Africa, Asia, and Latin America, early Christian communities depicted Jesus in ways that reflected their own cultural and racial contexts. These historical findings provided a foundation for contemporary movements advocating for more inclusive and diverse representations of religious figures. The re-evaluation of these historical narratives challenged the monolithic portrayals of Jesus and emphasized the global and multicultural nature of Christianity. The increasing visibility of Black Jesus icons also reflects the ongoing struggles for racial justice and equality. In recent years, movements such as Black Lives Matter have brought issues of racial injustice to the forefront of public consciousness. These movements have often invoked religious imagery and language to articulate their demands for justice and equality. The depiction of Jesus as black in this context serves as a powerful symbol of resistance against racial oppression and a call for social transformation. Theological institutions and churches have also played a role in promoting the image of a Black Jesus. Seminaries and divinity schools have incorporated Black liberation theology into their curricula, training a new generation of clergy and theologians who are committed to racial justice. Churches with predominantly Black congregations have embraced the image of a Black Jesus as a way to affirm their cultural identity and theological convictions. This shift has not been without controversy. The depiction of Jesus as Black has sparked debates and resistance from those who view it as a departure from traditional representations. Some critics argue that altering the image of Jesus to fit contemporary cultural contexts undermines the universality of his message. However, proponents of Black Jesus icons argue that these representations are not about exclusion but about inclusion and recognition of the diverse ways in which people experience and understand the divine. The growing popularity of Black Jesus icons also has implications for the broader Christian community. It challenges believers to reflect on the ways in which cultural and racial biases have shaped their perceptions of religious figures. By embracing a more inclusive and diverse representation of Jesus, the Christian community can foster a deeper understanding of the universal and inclusive nature of the gospel. In the global context, the depiction of Jesus with African features resonates with the experiences of many communities outside the Western world. It underscores the fact that Christianity is not bound by any single cultural or racial identity but is a faith that transcends cultural boundaries. This perspective enriches the global Christian community, fostering a spirit of unity and mutual respect among believers of different backgrounds. The increasing visibility of Black Jesus icons also encourages dialogue and collaboration between different cultural and religious traditions. It opens up new avenues for interfaith and intercultural exchanges, promoting a deeper appreciation for the diverse ways in which people understand and express their faith. This dialogue can lead to a more inclusive and holistic understanding of religious experience, one that honors the contributions and perspectives of all cultures. The role of media and technology in popularizing Black Jesus icons cannot be overlooked. Social media platforms, films, and television shows have played a significant role in disseminating these images to a global audience. Documentaries and biopics that explore the life and legacy of figures like Martin Luther King Jr. often feature depictions of a Black Jesus, reinforcing the connection between faith and social justice. These media representations have a profound impact on shaping public perceptions and promoting a more inclusive view of religious imagery. The increasing popularity of Black Jesus icons also reflects broader trends in contemporary spirituality. As people seek more personalized and authentic expressions of their faith, they are drawn to images and narratives that resonate with their own experiences and identities. The depiction of Jesus as Black offers a way for people to connect with their faith on a deeper and more personal level, affirming their cultural heritage and spiritual convictions. Educational institutions and community organizations have also contributed to the growing visibility of Black Jesus icons. Museums, cultural centers, and universities have hosted exhibitions and events that celebrate the diversity of religious art and imagery. These initiatives provide opportunities for people to learn about and appreciate the rich tapestry of religious representation, fostering a greater understanding and appreciation for the diversity of the human experience. The increasing popularity of Black Jesus icons is a testament to the dynamic and evolving nature of religious imagery. It reflects the ongoing efforts to create a more inclusive and diverse representation of religious figures, one that honors the experiences and identities of all believers. As this movement continues to grow, it challenges us to rethink our assumptions and embrace a broader and more inclusive understanding of faith and spirituality. In conclusion, the rise of Black Jesus icons represents a significant cultural and theological shift in how religious imagery is understood and appreciated. It reflects deeper social, political, and spiritual currents that challenge traditional narratives and invite a more inclusive perspective on religious representation. This movement is rooted in historical re-evaluations, social justice struggles, and cultural affirmations, offering a powerful and transformative vision of faith that resonates with diverse communities around the world. In the spirit of unity and love, let us remember that in the eyes of God, we are all one family, transcending race, culture, and all differences. As it is written in Romans 10 verse 12, "For there is no difference between Jew and Gentile, the same Lord is Lord of all and richly blesses all who call on him." Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue sharing messages of faith and unity. God bless us all.